I'm Gene Grant here in the studios of New Mexico PBS with our Line Opinion panelists for a take on another topic in the news. President Donald Trump announced last week he is instructing the Interior Department to review national monuments that have land over 100,000 acres in size, including New Mexico's Rio Grande del Norte and the Oregon Mountains Desert Peaks monuments, designated by former President Obama, you might remember, through the Antiquities Act. Now, that act, signed into law in 1906, gives presidents the authority to bypass Congress to protect federal lands that have special significance. But President Trump has said that in some cases, monument designation through the Antiquities Act amounts to a, quote, massive land grab, end quote. Laura, what do you think of the review of
Who
the
would even
monuments?
take this idea to the president? Who would work on such a thing?
I know. What do you think? I mean, I won't even talk about priorities, but what's behind this review in your mind? What do we have to look at here?
Well, okay, this is just back to Trump's campaign promises. You know, one of the things that I was involved in the creation of both of these. Well, I should say the organization I was involved with, the Green Chamber, New Mexico Green Chamber of Commerce, was very active in this. And one of the main reasons for being so involved in it is the fact that we had a lot of businesses, small businesses, that wanted to figure out how to use their local attributes, and in many cases that involved local public lands to be able to increase tourism, to increase the economy in the area. And these were businesses, small businesses, 1 or 2 person places, but many of them also were recreational businesses, a lot of sort of businesses that are important to New Mexico, that are part of the outdoor economy, and that really wanted to figure out how to use that local, what's unique about New Mexico to bring more people here, and tourism was the way to do that. And so the Rio Grande del Norte National Monument was the first one that became a national monument. It was a huge effort on the part of a lot of people. Environmentalists, of course, supported it because of its public land, but there was a lot of businesses that were supportive of it as well. Those who were not supportive of it were a lot of big industry. So a lot of oil and gas interests that were against it, and specifically in the effort down in Las Cruces, which is the Oregon Mountains Desert Peaks, if anybody's familiar with it, iconic, beautiful part of Las Cruces of New Mexico. And you know, down there we had Steve Pierce, who was completely against it. We had a lot of people who were really opposed to it. And the idea was that it is a land, their argument was it's a land grab and it's going to impact oil and gas and all kinds of other industry. In fact, a lot of the studies that came out of that showed that the economic impact could potentially increase because of tourism, because of outdoor recreation. And so the dollars coming in, new dollars coming in, were much higher than any potential impact that would affect the existing oil and gas companies. So unless they had plans to vastly expand those areas, so there were a lot of different, arguments made, pro and against, but the against argument in some cases even included, ranchers and farmers that they rallied them to try to oppose it as well. But it turns out that you could get grazing leases on these lands also. So there were a lot of things in the details that really didn't come out during those arguments. So I think that those efforts, those same interests, and it happened in a lot of places around the country, around the West in particular, where we have huge, and the Antiquities Act has been used not just by President Obama. It was used by Teddy Roosevelt, a lot of different presidents over time.
The Grand Canyon.
Exactly, to establish that. And the thing is that when we were going through these efforts, there were also companion bills in Congress that were introduced, and those were moving forward with the support of our 2 senators here. But it's a long road, as with anything, as we see with the Affordable Care Act and the repeal of it now. It's a long road to try to get something through Congress. And so using the Antiquities Act, the president was able to do it through proclamation. So now we see, as this administration has done, trying to repeal it through proclamation again, roll it back. And I think the effect here locally will be that a lot of these businesses will find themselves not having the opportunities they've had before by being able to market to folks interested in national monuments.
That's an interesting point. Marcia, let me read you a quote from the president. The Antiquities Act does not give the federal government unlimited power to lock up millions of acres of land and water. It's time we end this abusive practice. I didn't know it was an abusive practice. I've not heard people say that there's been a problem here necessarily with these acts, except in the local areas. The Utah, I mentioned earlier, their congressional delegation did not like a designation out there. Your sense of this, has the federal government been overreaching here in your view?
No, I mean, I think the communities in Las Cruces around the Oregon Mountains, I mean, they wanted this. And I mean, just to piggyback on what Laura was just saying, our national monument in the South, I mean, it's responsible for over 60,000 jobs in the outdoor recreation economy. And that's 6.1 billion in economic activity. And just in this past year, visitors to our national monument in the South doubled. So, I mean, well, if we're talking about, ensuring that New Mexico moves forward, we need to ensure that we are creating jobs and keeping the jobs that we have. 60,000 jobs is a lot.
That's incredible.
And to even talk about Congressman Steve Pearce, he should know how desperate times are right now. He should be leading the way to ensure that our monuments are safe, not that they're on the chopping block.
Good point there. What do you think? About this idea of the Antiquities Act being a federal overreach, and presidents have been. No.
It's the least of my concerns of what's going on. What I do want to say is I just want to say I'm really proud to hear Laura say that it's just a campaign promise. That's why he's doing this. It's nice to see we finally have somebody in elective office that says something on the campaign trail and follows through with it once they're elected. Great shout out from Laura to President Trump.
But the
I was
idea,
not a shout out.
Oh,
I am completely, I don't
so
even
you're
call
not
him
for
president.
Oh, okay. Well,
that was good. However,
Way to spin my
I just
spinning and spinning.
Just stated the
we're
obvious.
moving on to Mary T. Torres right now. The idea, though, I'm going to pick up on Laura's point there, our outdoor economy.
Sure, exactly.
It's a big deal here. 60,000 jobs, a big deal. Why would we want to mess with any of that? It's what we're known for, the outdoors.
Exactly.
It's our main calling card.
That's really it. And President Trump went back 20 years to review those 20 years, because he went back to 1996, because that's when Bill Clinton did the 1.7 million acres in Utah, which chapped Orrin Hatch big time, and then there was the other, the Bear Ears, also in Utah.
Right.
The same thing that chapped Utah.
Right.
But what's interesting is Aubrey Dunn is going, dude, this is going to mess up a big plan that we have. We've got this plan where we have worked with BLM and using the Del Norte. The Rio Grande del Norte. We've got this plan all set up, and if now with this review, it could put that plan in jeopardy, and that's going to hurt. That will hurt.
I'm glad you
So
got
I
that
think
in.
That's
we have a
an
land
issue
commissioner
too.
here that has to deal with this kind of stuff.
Right,
these ideas.
exactly.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I'm going to follow this one as it plays out. It's important for all of us.